Hey guys, I am trying to record here real quick. Hold on. I'm gonna record my podcast live today. If I can figure this out real quick. Um, where is the stupid card? Da-da-da. Let me find this card real quick. And then I'm going to record live episode of the FootyNotes podcast. Just give me 1 second. Yay. Okay. Sorry about this. We're almost there. So, yeah, Arsenal Football Club, the team that gets us all aging and all these things. Anyway, I have a few things that I would like to talk about, and I'm gonna go at this from like back to front in the performance of the team. And yeah, okay, let me see. Let's press record. All right, how everybody? Welcome to the live recording of the FootyNotes podcast. If you're on YouTube, I myself am thinking a lot at the moment about where to for this Arsenal team, and trying to keep in mind like where we're coming from and what I think we is the direction where we're trying to go. So, and I think that's the only way at the moment I can actually find the means to process and digest what I'm seeing in these games, especially the last three games. Um, I've definitely been a proponent of, you know, never too high when we win, and I'm trying very hard to be never too low when we are losing games, especially when we're losing games many of us would have expected better results out of. 0 points from the last three games I don't think anybody, including people who don't support Arsenal, would have predicted that Arsenal would come out of these three games against Palace, Brighton, and yesterday Southampton. Maybe drop some points, but like to get nothing at all was nobody's expectation. So there's that. Clearly underperforming. But then on the other side of it, if you look at these games separately and you try to um, make sense of them as a study, there have been some things for sure. If you want to be one of those like people who argue, luck is a thing in sport, and definitely in football, it's a thing. And I've heard some really good arguments about how Arsenal have been lucky in some games. Leicester being one in the earlier part of the season where we went away, we scored with almost our first two shots on goal, and then we shut up shop. And some kind of narrow wins as well, at Burnley and I would say Norwich, that first win against Norwich. And we played a couple other tight games, and opening goal at Leeds, for example, even though the game ended up being a thumping win for Arsenal, scoring about 4 or 5 goals. I know there was a 2-game stretch in December where we played Norwich and Leeds, and in those 2 games we scored like 9 goals, conceding I think 1 or 2. And that's when we started our lovely little run, right, of about 7 or 8 games in a 2 to 3 months spell. So I don't think I want to go too hard on like how unlucky we have been in these last couple of games. I want to actually just talk about the what I perceive to be the malfunctioning um, aspects of what has been a very interesting and, to be fair, good last, I would say, 15 months of squad building in some ways, but also in making some of these good decisions. You are taking at the moment some immediate punishment for some of the decisions you're taking, right? So it's not all great. It's not all bad. So, like, I'm not sitting a fence here, guys. And if you are hoping for something like one extreme or the other, then, I'm probably not the person who's going to give that in any of my episodes, at least for as much as I can. I try to stay fair and balanced, but as also not be naive and see the things that are going wrong. And so that's where I'm going today. So what I'm seeing as what's going on with the squad is Arsenal have spent a lot of money on players that that could have done better on. Like Chelsea bought N'Golo Kante for similar. Would he have wanted to come to Arsenal? I don't know, but like they bought him for similar money to what we bought Xhaka for around the same season. There've been like many defenders who have been better than Mustafi that were bought for much cheaper, right? Like Liverpool in 2021 bought Konate for cheaper than what we paid for Mustafi whenever we bought him 5, 6 years ago, right? So there've been some very bad decisions, and then you have the struggle then to kind of like let those players go, and then you end up maybe, like, for example, in the last two windows, we've struggled to sell players. In fact, we've had to pay players to leave. And the two players that we were able to sell in the last two windows are players probably who would have been contributors to the squad had they been kept, in Emi Martinez and Joe Willock, right? Like Joe just played for Newcastle now and, made a good run, came on as a sub, made an assist. Could Joe Willock be helping Arsenal as a squad player today? Probably. Yesterday in the last few games, yeah. He's got speed, he's got athleticism, and he's got Premier League experience. He would have helped. But Arsenal got £25 million or so for him. Good. So that's a good decision, but it's also cutting, both ways in a way. Aubameyang, I think he needed to go, right? He needed to go. But that's also left us in the short term paying the price, because now we have Eddie and Lacazette, both of whom are worse than Aubameyang as players. We also are heavily reliant on our young wing players, and they're playing more minutes than they've ever played in their careers at this level. And I wonder, if there's a wear and tear element to some of the performances we're seeing from Bukayo Saka, right? In the last three or so games. I mean, I know most of us Arsenal fans are really reluctant to criticize the kid because he's performing out of his mind for most of the last 2 to 3 seasons, right? And he's definitely exceeding our expectations. And even when he's not playing well, he's bad days are not normally, too costly to the team. But I can point to a couple of chances in the last 3 games where Saka hasn't delivered and we suffered, right? And then in his defense, you can say, yeah, but he's our top goal scorer. But like, that's what happens when you become the top goal scorer. Then more is expected off of you as well. When you play the kind of minutes that he's playing, more is expected out of you. So there are some decisions here that are good long term, bad short term. Saka, investing in Saka is probably good long term, not bad short term. But it's bad for Arsenal that and mostly he is the one having to do the business all the time. I don't know if I'm making sense there. I don't know if I'm expressing this the right way. I think Saka is not a bad player in the moment. He's arguably our best player at the moment. But the fact that he is being asked to do so much so regularly is bad for Arsenal right now, is a bad sign. It means that we don't have other players who are able to deliver at a high clip at this moment. And that's true. Martinelli promised a lot in the in the early seasons that he was there. Like this is, I think, his third year. Like that Emery season when he broke through, he did well. He's played more games for Arsenal this year and scored less goals than he did then. That's that's the level we have at the moment. Now, both of these players are really good players, and I love both. I'm not here knocking any of the kids. I'm staying balanced. But what I'm trying to argue is the Southampton result could have been a win, could have been a draw, but I'm not out here saying we were unlucky, because I think it has a lot to do with quality of player and also where these players are in their development, right? I think right now we're starting to see, with other elements of the season coming into heightened awareness now of like, okay, now it's about to be winning time, right? It's about results by hook or by crook. How do you respond when teams adjust to what you're doing? And it seems like Arsenal right now are not able to come up with the right adjustments quickly enough. And of course, like, do you then overcorrect and over adjust and then confuse the players, or do you make small tweaks? And that's where, for me, I think the questions are. And I don't know if there are answers to this, because I'm not a know-it-all, but I do wonder if Arteta could have done a little bit better with giving players a platform. So I'm going to that as well. Like, so he is, I think, the right person to invest in. However, I'm wondering how strong are some of the other voices around him, and how receptive he is to those voices if they are strong. So his assistant coaches, Edu, and anybody who is in the footballing brain trust at Arsenal, how strong are those voices? Are they really asking questions of Ateta and being thought partners with him? Or he is the dominant voice? And I don't know. I really don't have the answer to that, but I just sometimes feel like it's too samey same. Too many times we do the same thing for too long, that, like, it's one thing to be consistent, right? But if we are saying football is also a game like other games as well, like that's about matchups. Like, how much is Arsenal good enough right now? Like, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Is Arsenal right now good enough to do? We're just going to be us in every game, right? Like, this is the question we used to ask of Arsene Wenger. Like, even when we were not good enough, he would go ahead and be like, okay, we are Arsenal Football Club. We're gonna go to your patch, to our patch, wherever we're gonna play our football. And sometimes we used to just get annihilated. And sometimes we would win. And sometimes it would be a basketball game. But like, we played our way wherever we went. And I guess, this is why these guys get paid the big bucks. My question is, could he have played a back three in the last 2 to 3 games in order to create the stability needed, but also give the freedom needed to play less constipated football moving forward? Some I think the back four works because of like the patterns and everything that he has established. It works. It's a good, just like I saw against Southampton. That was a better performance. I know a lot of people didn't feel like that and didn't feel like that for me watching it, But when I look at it again, like it was actually a better performance than it felt during watching it, but it was not good enough. Like it was not a good enough performance to for me to feel like, oh, we were unlucky to lose that game, even though statistically we were unlucky to lose that game. But watching it, it felt like two brothers having a sparring situation. It didn't look like we wanted to hurt them. We threw a few punches, but like with very, very heavily sponged gloves and with our weaker hand, and then we were just like somebody, I think, was it Elliot on the Arsenal Vision podcast? He called it a pillow fight. I think that's probably the best description of that game if you were watching it. It felt like a pillow fight. Southampton never came out to play, and Arsenal was just happy playing at a what looked like a pedestrian pace, except for the few times where we got a turnover and what's his name? Edin Ketia played Saka through, and Saka, I'm sorry, he needs to do better in that situation. And I said, like, I love the boy. I really love the boy, but he should be doing better in that situation. He should be killing that chance. And I don't want to hear this thing about it was one of his weaker foot, right foot. Was Saka has a very good right foot. He has a very good right foot, a strong right foot. And so for me, like I just think we are over relying on him. We're asking too much of him, and I get that, but he should still be delivering in a moment like that, right? So the problem for me is that, like, yes, that was a pillow fight of a game. However, there were a couple of opportunities for Arsenal to really land a strong punch on Southampton, and we didn't. They got one chance. They got one chance, and they are punched in the way that hurts the most. Hear this out. Obinho put out a statistic yesterday, and this is why I'm like, the stat thing is like sometimes a little bit like disheartening. Obinho puts out a stat, and Arsenal have conceded about 7 or 8 goals. I'm trying to remember this from the top of my head. From their last 14 shots on target faced, 14 shots, they've conceded about 8 or 7. One of those two numbers, I think it's 8. Arsenal, going the other way, have scored 2 goals from their last 70 something shots taken. And I can remember a very good chance for Smith Rowe yesterday. If it makes a good connection, that should be a goal. I remember a good chance for Smith Rowe against Crystal Palace before they even scored their third goal. And then 4 minutes later, he kicks it straight to the keeper. And then 4 minutes later, after that, Odegaard has a chance on his favored left foot on the 6-yard box. Kicks it wide. Doesn't even make the goalkeeper make a save. Yes, we're playing some good stuff, but it's not like, strangulation football, like where you're like, we are really hitting teams hard. And I think this is Arsenal's problem. It's that we are asking every player to do more than they have done before. If you think about it, we're asking Ramsdale to do more than he has ever been asked to do at Burnley, at Sheffield United, and everywhere else he's been to on loan. Wimbledon. This is the highest he's ever played, right? Like in terms of levels. We're asking Ben White to do more than he's ever done before. Biggest club he's ever played for, Arsenal, right? Spotlight on him. And both of these players have actually, met the bar and even improved the team, the starting 11. So these are players that I like. I'm not knocking them, but we are asking them to perform higher than they've ever performed before. Who plays at left back? Kieran Tierney when he's fit. Okay, and we were good when he was there. But now we've been playing with Nuno or some other, like Xhaka. What have they done as left backs? Nothing. right? Gabriel, good player. We're also asking him to do more than he's done before. At right back, Cedric, I think this is the biggest club he's ever played for at the senior level. He's being asked to do more as well than he's ever done before. The only player we are saying, hey, you've done this, do it for us. But even though we're asking him to play a different role, is Thomas Partey. He is playing at a level maybe slightly below than what he's used to play, having played for Atletico for about 7 or 8 years in midfield. Granit Xhaka, this is the highest he's ever played as well in terms of levels. Bukayo Saka, highest level. Martin Odegaard, he didn't play much at Madrid. This is the highest, this is the biggest ask on him that he's ever had on him because even though he's the captain for Norway, there are no expectations for the Norwegian national team. Left wing, Martinelli. There isn't one player that I don't like of the players that I've named. But I think Arsenal, going back to where I started, are struggling now because they have made decisions that I think they believe are going to set them up. Like this is like the foundational work that they're doing in order to then hopefully in the summer, we'll see about this, to make a springboard. That's the only way I can basically stomach and digest the results that I'm seeing at the moment is like we are asking all these players in one go to do more than they've ever done before in terms of their level of consistency and the level that they have to deliver it. That's a lot. That's a lot if you think about it. Youngest squad in the league. Like I know somebody could say, "Oh, we have Mbappe doing at younger age bigger things. We have Ansu Fati." But if all of these players are playing with high quality, any player you name, Mason Greenwood too. I know right now he's in the sin bin because of the outside of football stuff that happened with him, and I don't know if he'll when his career will resume. Like I see, I mean, I just saw another tweet. Just again, is Saka better than Mason Greenwood? I mean, Greenwood is probably a better goal scorer, but I think Saka is a better all-around footballer at this point of their careers. However, Greenwood is playing with better quality professional players, even people who aren't playing, who are training with him, like Juan Mata. Like, who is the Juan Mata Matic of our squad? Guys who aren't playing, but like they've done it at the highest level and they can guide and coach. Like, even our experienced players are worse than bench players in the teams that are our direct rivals. That's what's going on. That's where I'm at in terms of like what Arsenal's limitations are right now. Like why we aren't winning these games is because we just don't have the nous and the street wiseness. Like we're playing decent games. We're not being knocked out. I mean, like I said, we just conceded 8 out of the last 14 shots or seven, but like one of those two numbers out of the last 14 shots. So there's an element of luck there, but I don't want to lean into that too much because what we also need to be aware of is going the other way. There's an element of us not taking care of business. Like we've taken 70 plus shots and scored 2 goals. That's on us. That's on us. You can't be that unlucky. And so I just think if you want to be taken seriously, you can't have this kind of repeated malfunctioning and whatnot. However, I'm glad I'm recording this 24 hours after the game was actually played because the things I felt 24 hours ago were, yeah, I probably would have sounded like I'm on AFTV, and I do watch AFTV sometimes because I'd rather hear other people say some of these things than me say it. Because I feel some of those things, but I think it's in the heat of the moment, and that's why I understand and appreciate that program for what it is. But some of the takes I hear there, I think it's people like who are really gutted and feel very strongly about the club, right? Like people love their football clubs, And so we all want the same thing. I don't judge any fans for the way they choose to express what they feel. However, I think, yeah, it's very easy at times like this to have it be open season on all the players. But like I'm trying to remember that like with this Arsenal team at the moment, we are asking too many people to do more than they've done before, including the manager and the technical director and the CEO. And if we are being really, really honest with ourselves, like there's room to grow for sure, and there's room to and maybe even be forgiving to what we are seeing. As hard as that can be for all of us, I mean, it's hard. It's really, really hard to make sense of what's happening. But I'm gonna try and take solace in the fact that like I saw Liverpool last year almost lose out on top four, and they are far better as a squad and as a team, and they have a far superior coach compared to who we have as a coach. Even though I like Arteta, Jurgen Klopp is just you know class. Like what I mean, he's streets ahead, and arguably the best in the league, best in Europe, possibly. Who knows? You pick your poison between him and Pep. Like whichever way you go, you're not going to get too many arguments as to who's the better coach right now. And definitely, he was saved by his goalkeeper scoring against. Don't remember who that header was against. Like they needed that win. That was a winning goal that helped them to go into the last 2 or 3 games with a chance of securing top four. They did eventually, I think, finish third because some other teams gagged around them. But Liverpool were that close, and they didn't even have injuries that were massive up front. Like, I mean, Salah was available. He's better than any striker we've had in years. Probably only Thierry Henry would be a better forward that's played for Arsenal in the last 20 years than him. And they had him. They had Firmino. They had Mane. Sadio Mane was fit too, but they got hit at the back, right? Like they lost Virgil van Dijk. And they had some times without Allison here and there, and they had some times with like key players outside of any team will hurt a team. And I know a lot of people are brewing the standing pact, standing pact in January and not making signings. And maybe maybe the signings helped. If Arsenal made signings, we can't be sure of that though. So we can never know because this is the road we took. We can never know if we would have found a player we wanted in January. I know that it got close with the Arthur thing, and reliable people that I try to listen to about these transfer things said that Juventus were prepared to let him go, but they wanted us to do a loan similar to what Spurs have done with this Swedish kid, Kulusevski, right? They wanted us to do an 18-month loan. That would have been another Donny Ceballos kind of situation. And what if the salary we would have had to pay Arthur? Because Arthur was, I think, he left Barcelona for something that was like 70 or 80 million pounds or whatever it was, in an exchange, of course, with that Pjanic guy. But his salary is probably going to be stupid, right? Would we be happy with that? Maybe, maybe, and maybe he gets us into the Champions League. Who knows? I don't know how true the whole Vlahovic thing was, but like, it's always easy to look back and say January killed us and all that kind of thing. I just think the people with the plan are the ones who made the decision, and they spend more time. I'm hoping, right, like that them spending more time thinking about these things means they know a lot more things that we don't know that are going to set us up for success in June. And I'm sorry to sound like I'm giving up on top four with 7 games to go, while it's still mathematically possible and we still get to play both of the other teams we're competing against. You know, that's the funny thing here is Arsenal gets to play in the next 2 weeks. Chelsea, who's I think is going to be definitely number three or number four, worst case. I don't think Chelsea are getting out of the top four, but they get to play Chelsea next, Man United, West Ham, and Tottenham in the next couple of weeks. So even though Arsenal have definitely pooped the bed in the last 3 games, it is still possible that they play themselves into top four positions again. But like I really, after seeing what I'm seeing and worrying about having these boys having to basically play in high stakes situations, basically seeing them fall apart in these kinds of games, I'm not sure we can win out. I mean, I don't think we will win out, but that's what we will need really. We would need to, if not win out, we would need to basically win every game against a direct rival. So maybe lose to Newcastle and you lose to, I don't know who else we need to play, but like win the next 4 games and then lose 3 others or draw or something like that. That's going to be hard. That's going to be really, really hard. So that's why I'm sounding down on our chances or top four. At this point, just find a way to stay competitive. Don't lose. Don't lose again, man. Like I think I know this sounds really bad, and I don't care because we are not doing much with this template at the moment. We've had a whole season, 31 games to learn this template. We need to find, with the players we have, a solution that stops us from bleeding out. We are hemorrhaging at the moment. We had 2 games, in terms of like we had the points in the hand and we had games in hand. Now we have neither. We are basically on par with all the other teams, with Spurs for sure. But we have a game in hand which we need to win in order to be equal in points with them. I don't have much faith in us doing that at the moment. So I just want to say, yeah, let's try the best we can. Do whatever helps you to recover from Arsenal. Like what I tend to do is I watch football games that involve other teams where I have no real dog in the fight. That tends to help me get over an Arsenal loss. And I'll probably go finish this Chelsea Palace game. I don't know what the score is. Last time I checked, it was 0-0 when I started recording. But I was like, yeah, let me do this podcast now and get it out the way. After having had an overnight period to kind of like just sleep on it because it really sucked. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna stop here. I hope you find ways to recover between now and Wednesday when we have to go to Stamford Bridge and do this shit again. And hopefully we don't lose that game, and we have a 6:30 a.m. United States time kickoff on Saturday, which is bullshit by the Premier League. But there you are. You're not gonna get any favors. These boys are gonna have to do this the hard way if they're gonna do it. Anyway, guys, we'll talk again sometime in the next couple of days, maybe before the Chelsea game. I'll try to do something, but definitely after that Chelsea game, and then before the United game. And yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and I think I'm gonna try this live thing a little bit more. All right, cheers, folks.